Hello and welcome to Rich's Home Mechanics, and you're greatly welcome. Thank you for visiting. Today we are going to be carrying on. This is part 4 of the head bearing replacement on this little scooter I've got here. Doesn't matter whether it's a scooter or a motorcycle or a moped, the principles are basically the same, what we've had to take out and what we've had to replace. So let's have a look. Let's carry on and let's get these folks actually back in this scooter and get this scooter back on the road where it belongs. Okay, on top of this race here, on top of this headstock here, we've got one of these sitting in the top. And that's like I call it a race where the bearing sits in it. We've also got one at the bottom which is slightly bigger, which sits at the bottom here in here. Now we've got to knock these out. People make the mistake and don't realise or can't be bothered to knock these out. Now it's a waste of time if you don't knock these out. Put the new bearing in it. This is worn to the old bearing, to the old balls and that, and the old race. So it's a waste of time. So if you're going to do the job, do it properly. You must knock out the top one of these little races, and you must knock out the bottom one of these little races. Otherwise, it's not worth doing. Right, let's have a look at what we've got to do here. And here we need to knock this top one out. Normally they come out okay. Let's have a look. Just a little chisel, little tap. Little one there. Here we go, let's give it a little one. Here it's coming. Here it comes. Alright, that's that one out. We'll go for the bottom one now. Over there. Now the bottom one's a different kettle of fish. These can be either easy to come out and come out straight away in the bottom of here, the little race, or they don't. Let's have a look. The way to do it, you either use a screwdriver with a flat blade, or I'm going to use a bit of bar. And what I'm going to do, it's a very similar system to when if I haven't got a press and I need to get a bearing into, say, a wheel bearing, you can use what they call the 3 point. So when you've got the bearing in there, you tap it 3 times in different places. So what we're going to do, we're going to go 1, 1, 2, 3, 3 different places. But instead of pushing the bearing out, we want to push this race out, tap it out. So we're going to set this up and we're going to tap it in 3 different places, and eventually it will come out. Hopefully, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Right, give it a little bit more. 1, 2. Here we go. Job's a good one. Now, look how rusty that is. Now, what happens? Let's take an example. That sits in the bottom, like that, in the bottom of the headstock there. Now, when you look at it, you don't think it does look like it's part of the headstock, but it's only when you get the kit you realise you've got this in the kit, you know, and you think you've got to replace it. So if you do the headstock or do your head race bearings, make sure you replace the top and the bottom race. Oh, it's a waste of time because look at the state of that. That's all gritty. Look, you're going to put your new bearings in there, your new race here, whatever. It's going to wear out in a matter of months. So look at that one, and then you look at the new one, which is here. Completely no-brainer. That was sitting there, lovely. Okay, so what we're going to do now then, we're going to get the old grease out. We're going to clean up here. So give me 5 minutes to clean up the top with a cloth and a bit of the cleaner solution. We're going to then grease these bearings, and then we're going to offer the forks and nip it all up. Right. Let's get this bottom little race in, shall we? Or shell, whatever you call it. People got different names. I'm going to use a rubber mallet. You do not want to use metal on this little shell or race, whatever people call them. Different names, different terminology. We're just going to tap it in for a rubber mallet first. Simple, isn't it? That's gone in quite nicely. Look, just tapped in. Right. Now, I need to have a look inside and see if that's gone home properly. Now, in between the edge of the little shell here, the race, we've got a gap. So that needs to go up. Now, I'm not going to use a metal chisel for this, or a punch. We're going to use a little bit of wood, because wood is softer, obviously, than metal, so it's not going to damage the race. And we're just going to tap it round in 3 points. Now I can convert back now to my club hammer. we're going to tap it in. 1. By using the wood, I am not going to damage the race or the shell, whatever you call it. We'll call it a race at the moment. Just tapping round. This is called 3 points. It's not hurting it. As you can see, the wood will give up far quicker than the metal will. Now hear that noise, that thud, that looks like it's home. Let's have a little look. Bottom one's done. Let's do the top one. Exactly the same procedure. Nice new shell, race, whatever. I mean, if I got the terminology wrong, I do apologise, but it's changing all the time. I call it a race, some people call it a shell. And we're going to tap this in. Again, we're going to use a rubber mallet. Now, when we do this, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get a bit of wood. This gives it a nice, flat, even, so when I hit it, it's going to go in nice and square. If it doesn't go in square first time, stop. Check it, every hit you do. That is absolutely... Now if you listen to that, you'll hear the different tone. As it was going lighter, lighter, then you hear a thud. That means metal's hitting metal. So that is now home. More than happy with that. What we're going to do now, we will get the old grease out. We'll grease inside here. We'll also grease up the new bearings that are going in, and we're off with the forks up. Right, so what I've done now, I've already put some grease around the bottom of the headstock and the top of the headstock, ready for us to actually do the installation of the forks. And what we're going to do now, this is the good bit, I love this bit. We're going to grease really, really round the little bearing race here. And I'm going to push it in between the little balls, squash it in. There we go. Because this has got to last a long while. It might be another 10 years before this these forks come out again. So you want to make sure you do it properly. Make sure you grease it all. Really, really dirty job. It's got to be done. And I'm pushing the grease in between the balls, making sure there's plenty of lubrication. There's one. Gonna squash it all in, push it in. There we go. You want this nice and nicely lubricated. There we go. We'll leave that for the moment. Now what we'll do now is I will obviously clean my hands. Let's go and get the forks and offer them up. Okay, here comes the fun bit. Normally I'd have someone help me on here, but I'm on my own today, or the Sue's indoors and the girls are doing bits and bobs, so we're going to see if I can do it on my own. We should be okay, but these are not light, so if I struggle a bit, please, I apologise. Right, we're going to put the head race bearing on first. Thinking about what we've done, so we've greased that, we've greased the shell there. So what we need to do now, I've laid everything out here on the bench here beside me, that how it's going to assemble. So we're going to offer these forks straight up. Let's go for it. Let's see if we can do it. Now these are not light. I'm not sure if I'm going to hold it and go. Right, here we go. Next thing, let's just put this up here. Oh, that's better. I can hold that. Here you go, you learn to adapt. I'm going to hold it with my knees. The head race for the top, like so. Sits in there. Next is the little cap. Which goes over the race. Whew, that's easy. That's the hard bit done. So let's crack on. Let's now get this all assembled. Managed to do that. I'm pleased with that. Right. So what we're going to do. That goes on like that. Now you can get special spanners to fit this, but I'm going to use a cold chisel. It's not going to hurt it. I'm not going to whack it hard. Let's have a look. This is the actual locking one. But what you normally do on here, this is the main one that is actually the tension or the strength, the tightness of this. So what you normally do, you tap it down. There are torque settings, but I haven't got it to hand, so I will do it later. But this is just showing you how I reassemble the forks. what you normally do, you tap it tight, like so. Making sure there's no gap. See, that's freewheeling. And then what you would do then is you would knock it off. So you do it up tight first, just before it tightens up. That seems quite good. There's no movement in there. Let's have a look. That's good. And then what you do, you knock it off slightly, and then you get the torque settings, which again I haven't got to hand. Set up a torque if you can. If not, you're going to have to guesstimate it, which you can do quite easily. Tap it round, and then that should be good. So once you've done that, this particular model has a washer, so it fits over the top like so. Over there. Let's have a look. Which sits there. It's got a little locating slot. See, you've got a look. And then this finally has a locking nut that you then do up. And that top one, you give it the old 1, 2, 3, and that actually holds it all in. That is the fork assembly done. Now, I can't really go much further. That is now done. All I'm going to do now is spend a little bit of time setting it up. Now, you can see when we first got this scooter, that was grouchy and grinding. That was terrible, terrible, terrible. But now, look at that. That just drops on its side. You've got to nip it up and set it up. But that is how you replace a headstock bearing, a race bearing in a scooter, motorcycle or moped. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you on the next episode of Rich's Home Mechanics. Take care. Thank you for watching again.